Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome in for another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. This week, I have an exciting treat for all of us. Friend of the pod and friend of me, Sheetal Story, is here today to give us the astrology updates, heads up, forecast for the first 6 months of 2026. How exciting! We talk about the themes, how the astrology affects every month, the heads up, what to expect, what you can do in preparation, and how you can best use this energy. Like we talk about in the episode and every time we chat, really it's all about perspective. We can take the astrology that's up ahead and get fearful and think, oh no, I don't want to experience this. Or we can realize that the astrology and planetary alignments are really just helping to move us more and more in alignment with what our soul wants us to express in this lifetime. And just like a weather report, we can use a heads up to tell us to wear rain boots and bring an umbrella, or we could not pay attention to it at all and get stuck in a downpour if we want to. It's totally our choice. But I am always so grateful to Sheetal for being here with us. And she really has some juicy info and some real world tips. So without further ado, I would like to read her new bio and introduce her to those that you don't know her, even though I know many of you do. And she has also an exciting new podcast that I will link in the show notes. So without further ado, enjoy with me the first 6 months of the astrological forecast and predictions for 2026 with the most beautiful soul, Sheetal Story. I am so excited to have back with us on the podcast one of our favorite guests and friends of the pod, Sheetal Story. I'm going to read her bio. She's got a new one for us. Plus, you can find her on all the social media places, Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. She now has a podcast. I'm going to link everything in the show notes. You can find her on all the platforms. Sheetal Story, for those of you that are new, is a psychic medium, professional astrologer, human design business coach, and a grief support counselor with a master's in coaching. She's no nonsense. She also has her own podcast called the Story of Spirit Podcast. She helps women heal grief, remove subconscious blocks to their next level of success, and align with their intuition to create a life that feels joyfully aligned from the inside out. Welcome in, Sheetal. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me back. This is one of my favorite podcasts that I actually listen to on the regular and subscribe to your podcast as well.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited for everyone to get to check out your podcast now, doing bigger and better things all the time. How wonderful.
It's wild, when the universe aligns you to do something. I was super resistant to doing more, and they're like, "Nope, it's the universe. Like you have to do a podcast." I was like, "Whatever." And then all these people just started to a podcast coach dropped into my life,
Oh my
a VA
gosh.
dropped into my life. It's like the wildest story, Joy. So
That's amazing.
what's meant for you will find you. And it's just being open to saying yes, and it's been one of the best things. And we were talking before we started to record how like even for you, you're so naturally aligned with the podcast, like podcasting, your voice, your mission, what you have to say. Like it's not very often that we come across, in the mediumship world, someone that is so talented and so smart and so together and so practical. And I just love you for it.
Well, I feel the same about you. We have a big love fest every time we get together. Unfortunately, we don't get together a ton out of these biannual meetings where you give us all the juicy astrology that we need to embrace ourselves for. And I know this year, 2026 in the numerology is a 1 year. So in the astrology, I'm sure it's a doozy.
It is. Yeah. And that 1 year is, it's really how I wanted to start it out, because the 1 year is the beginnings, right? There's new energy coming in, and it inherently is a destabilizing year because we haven't been here before. So to have that beginner's mindset and to have that ability to be like, okay, everything is coming in for my highest and best. What is this here to teach me? Because you are from here on in going to be setting up a new 9-year cycle. So for the collective, there's the energy of the astrology. Everything is aligned. There's not one modality that conflicts with another. And when we look into, I love starting out with the numerology, and I'm so glad you started because that was actually in my notes.
Oh, yay.
So 1 year is that beginner point, and we have so many beginner points coming in to the 2026 astrology that we are going to be experiencing this new energy. And as humans, we are not really aligned, or the word is built. We're not normally
Right.
built for new, right? We want
Yeah.
certainty, we want the old, we want to recreate the past, and this year is not going to let you do that.
Okay,
So
so fair warning to everyone. If you have been feeling in this last year like, I want to go back to a time that, Chantal has some refocusing for us
yeah,
around that.
yeah, there's gonna be grief, every
Yeah,
time we step into a new phase of life, there is always inherently grief because
sure.
we're mourning a part of us that, served us, and sending gratitude to those parts of you that have been
Yeah,
holding you for this time. But I think in the collective, especially because we had some of these transits with those outer planets, stepping into new signs and then stepping back in to the old signs, we've had these tastes of new things to come already. So it's not a shock to the system, which is why I love astrology. And, the universe is aligned to help us to step into these new parts of us. If we're dropped into new parts of us without
yeah,
that warning, it tends to be very jarring. There's a lot of grief. It's very destabilizing for our mind. So we're being eased into these new energies with grace and compassion. And we had these tasters last year of these new energies already. So this is not,
right,
shouldn't be so new. It's almost like you had a little toe dip last year and then you went back to your safety nest. And this
right.
year you're being thrown out of the nest and going into now this new territory, which you've already had a taste for. So it's not
Yeah.
so scary,
I
right?
kind
And
of keep receiving like messages around it in my meditations. I'll say, sort of like starting a new business, where the year before you're going to start a new business, you're should I, shouldn't I? You're looking at the paperwork, getting some things in line, but then you're still like stepping back into whatever you were doing, not quite ready. And when you do finally cross that threshold and start a new business, it's not like magically bunnies start hopping out and everything lines up like a fairy tale. There's some hard knocks and some lots of learning and growth, and it's beautiful and amazing and lots of learning, but not necessarily guaranteed smooth sailing.
there's an adjustment period needed. And yeah, I
Yeah,
love your analogy of that, because when we're stepping into something new, we can't go back, right?
yeah,
So inherently there's a part of us that wants to go back, but you can't because you know too much, right? And even when you think about last year, 2025, there's when you look at what happened in 2024, you're like, I don't know if I could go back to that anymore. Like,
yeah,
you just know too much now. You are, as a soul, you're always expanding and evolving. Every day you're learning and evolving and growing consciousness, just by
yeah.
your own experience. So this year is going to be a massive expansion for the collective. And as a little kind of sneak peek, in human design, which I know we're talking about astrology as well, but in human design, 2027 is considered a mutation year. That's
Mm,
a big mutation is coming into the collective to change the way we think and how we receive information, how we feel emotionally. And babies being born in 2027 and onward are going to be a very different design than those that have come before. So we're really in this corridor, time of birthing a new paradigm, which is the age of Aquarius, which isn't coming for another 100 and so years, but that we're in the corridor, since each era is over 2100 years long.
wow.
So we're in that last 140 years of this corridor, and it's birthing Aquarius. And so what Aquarius is evolution, it's higher thinking, it's a humanitarian, it's looking out for each other, is everyone
Yeah,
gets to benefit and be wealthy, not just a single few. So when we're looking at this, you can see all these destabilizing systems that are already coming in, that are already being tested. And I think what is so fascinating, timing, you can't mess, like, divine timing is everything. That Pluto is returning to has returned back to its original birth position in the US birth chart. So we are
interesting.
seeing everything we are seeing is testing the old, right? Pluto is death, rebirth, and transformation. And in the birth chart of the US, it was at the beginning degrees of Aquarius, which is this new world and this, all for one, and, anything is possible, and the American dream. And, with what's been happening recently in the politics, there's been a lot of going back to the founding fathers,
Girl, I'm
right?
feeling
And
very tested.
yeah, very tested, but like going back to the founding fathers and what was their intention. Of course, we've come such a long way from
Right.
that we can't go back to that. But there's this now testing of like, what was that about? Are we that anymore?
Yeah.
And there's always, in pressures in politics at the political sort of part of astrology is, looking at the dynamics of the astrology and how it overlaps with birth charts and politicians and things like. It's just fascinating to me. But this the pendulum swings, to the past and to the future. So an expansion in the future and contraction in the past,
Hmm.
or evolution in the future, and then historical and traditional in the past. And right now we're seeing the pendulum swinging back to the past, to
Yeah.
contractionary in the U.S. And we're going to see that pendulum swing forward, in the next 4 years for sure. What that will look like is, anyone's guess,
Yeah.
truly. But I think we're getting ready for that because there's so many people that are like no longer aligned with that past
Right.
tradition, the way that the founding fathers originally designed it. I mean, women were not even a factor back then, or not considered
Right.
humans to own land and have rights. So we're seeing that this pressure building for the pendulum to swing forward is the way that I'm seeing in the astrology for 2026.
I can feel the bubbling happening. For those that don't know,
Mhm.
Sheetal is our neighbor to the north in beautiful Canada.
That's right.
So you get a little bit of a different perspective of the happenings of the US, but I'm sure you can feel the energy, and you're definitely obviously seeing the astrology of it. So,
And we have our own, things
oh,
that are
yeah, of
going on in Canada.
course.
This divide is so powerful. We're really seeing this, as humanity expands and evolves, we're seeing more and more people cross the divide into expansion rather than contraction. And so when we see this divisiveness, we're actually seeing people of the past and people of the future. And more of our generation, more as we learn, are moving into that next paradigm. And then that's when everything shifts. So Spirit's almost showing me like a teeter totter where,
Yeah,
there's half the people, and we're divided in Canada just as we are in the US. We
right.
just had a little bit more on the future expansion and we tipped forward, but it was touch and go there. We could have tipped backward as well. And
Yeah,
again, backward forward doesn't mean bad or good. It just means that we were going to more conservative and liberal. Like liberal is considered more expansionary, more forward thinking, more evolutionary, whereas conservative is the past, it's tradition, it's
right.
contractionary, right? Just by looking at even the policies of that. And there's no bad or good, it's all neutral. So I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to be like, oh my God, she's she's a liberal. Well, no, actually, I'm a soul, and I want expansion. I'm here for expansion,
Right.
but of course, we need to temper that with tradition too, and expanding in a way that humanity can hold it versus mental breakdowns and people fighting and all the things. So
Yeah.
if we can do this with love and compassion and education, having open conversations, which there's a little bit of that coming in, but right now there's an almost like an ignition that is in the
Okay.
air, right? And so we're going to
That
see
feels
that because there's a lot of
exciting.
Aries energy, that ignition, that fire coming into the collective. Is again, it can also be adversarial. Aries is
Right.
the god of war, so we can do so with love or we can do so with anger, and that's really going to make the difference.
That's important to know too, because I feel like I definitely know that Aries vibe, and it can sometimes be, even when it's not, and it's when it's always obviously for growth, it can feel confrontational sometimes. And so it's nice to
Mhm.
have a heads up to say, like, okay, it's how we're meeting that energy, also, not just what shows up.
Yes, and I think that that feels confrontational when you haven't done your inner work, because then
Mm,
it's going to trigger a wound within you. It's going to activate something of your past. And if you've done the healing work, if someone's losing their marbles in front of you, you can just hold that space because it has nothing to do with you.
right.
But if losing their marbles means it reminds you of your dad who used to lose his marbles on you all the time, then you're going to get activated by that. And so when we
Yeah.
hold our center and we can be grounded in our own knowing, in our own healing and compassion and love, we don't react to these outside world influences. We just hold the line of love. So that's why I think
Yeah.
healing is going to be so needed for this year and the many years to come as we move into the age of Aquarius.
That's perfect. And we've seen over these last handful of years, I'm sure you've seen it in your work, healers just kind of bubbling up to where they can't hold it inside anymore. And they just, I don't know what type of healing work I'm meant to do, but I know I'm meant to do some healing work for others. And obviously, we know the pendulum of that is like, oh, you got to do this healing work for yourself. So get excited.
Right.
So
Oh, I
lots
love
of
that.
healers like bursting out of the ground as little flowers.
Yes, I love that analogy too. You're right, because whenever humanity needs something to evolve, it is equipped to have those people already in the pipeline, already
Yeah.
here, right? And we're just noticing with all these babies that are coming in, the astrology of their charts are like generational change makers
Oh,
that are coming
interesting.
in. They're so dynamic, and even like my kids are teenagers, and the things that they're aware of and what they're thinking about and their way that they're talking about politics and activism, it like blows my mind. I wasn't like that until my 20s. And
Yeah.
here they are in their teens being like, we're marching to the legislature. I was like, wow, yes, go ahead. I'll give you permission to leave school today for that.
Wow.
So it is, yeah, it's wild to see, the conversations and stuff coming up. And it's interesting. I'm noticing the older generation projecting, what their experience was onto these little, saying that they're being indoctrinated or but it's actually not. They're
Right.
just so aware, and they're having these conversations amongst themselves about sexuality and gender and
Yeah.
roles in the family and roles and jobs in the future. And like, it is just blows my mind. I was not talking about any of that in junior high, and
Yeah.
here they are already have these conversations and awarenesses and are trying things out, and I think that's we normally experimented sort of later in our life, I think into our later teens and 20s, and they're doing so in a very early age. So it's
Yeah.
wild to notice these generational planets, with babies being born in these different generations than us, and how they're coming forward and how they're already trying to make such a difference in the world at such a young age.
Yeah.
Like we're going to see some massive changes in our lifetime, Joy, and I'm so excited
I'm
because
here for it. Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah.
time.
I do notice, I don't want to keep you from the astrology piece, but I do notice my kids are in their 20s now, kind of just birthdays 25 and 27. And when
Yeah.
they were in their teens, like 10 years ago or so, a little bit more, the thing I noticed is there's just so much more acceptance and so much more you be you and I'll be me. And these are your pronouns and that's fine. And we have other things to do. Let's get to this movie. Like they have less about it. So they have maybe more permission to let themselves be themselves, let others be themselves, which I really hope is the direction we're
Oh,
continuing.
love it. I love
Yeah.
that so much. You're so right. Like it's just this acceptance of what is and not
Yeah.
this having to be like justify or fight it or talk about
Yeah.
it. Like just like you get to be you. All right, let's move on with
Yeah,
life. Like
cool.
there's not
Yeah.
that's and I'm my mind also goes to like why as this older generation who like in their 40s, 50s, 60s that is this huge push to keep people in their place.
Yeah.
No, you don't get to be trans. You don't get to be non-binary. Like what is that pronoun even mean? It's like
Right.
what does it matter to you?
Yeah, why do you care?
Why don't you just say, "Great, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you know yourself,"
Yeah.
because you're projecting now your thing onto, someone else, and that projection is where we need the healing, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't get to be me if you don't get to be you. Is that actually love or is that enmeshment? It's codependency, right?
Right.
I
So
can't be
true.
who I am. So, yeah, it is fascinating. And this Aries energy, which leads us into the astrology, the big transits for 2026. Now, the goal of this episode was to go to the first 6 months of the
Yes.
year, right? And there's quite a bit happening. But what I'll say to you is the last 6 months of the year is where it's going to get really I'm going to say transitory, very
Okay.
shifting, lots of energy changing in the second half of the year, and some big, big shifts that are more, I'm going to say destabilizing potentially, but also transformational, on the positive side of that
Yeah.
in the second half of the year. So the first half of the year, it's really about all these planets that were kind of stepping back. So the outer planets, so a little bit of into our astrology 101, the inner planets, which is the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, are our inner planets or our personal planets,
Yeah.
and they create our personality. So at the time you were born, the energy coming onto this planet encapsulates in a little baby that was you, that is you, and that becomes your energy resonance or frequency in your lifetime. And we can look at that as the chart of your astrology, your natal chart, that all those planets, all that energy coming onto this planet has become your energetic signature. And even twins, even though they have probably very similar charts, I've read many twin charts and some of them exactly the same, but twins are always the opposite, right? So it's really interesting because we have a choice in how we the word is exude our chart, the way that
Yeah.
we actually live our chart, because our chart is our highest potential. And so we have a choice in how we're going to do that into the world, how we're going to be those things. So that is our personal free will. And when we look at the chart of the astrology now, these outer planets, which is Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and I'm not saying those in order because Uranus is first, then Neptune and Pluto. Those outer planets are interpersonal planets. It's how we relate to the collective,
Okay.
it's how we socialize. So, those interpersonal planets, they're important, but they're generational planets. They move very slowly.
Right.
So, as they move and they change signs, that creates generations of people. And because they don't move very fast, so they're staying in a sign for longer periods of time. So it's sort of affecting a generation versus it just being like the moon goes through the zodiac every 30 days, right?
Right.
So it's not going to be something that really, I mean, it does, it's a personal planet, so it does affect who we are as a person. So when we look at the astrology, we really do pay attention more so to the personal planets going retrograde. And that's Mercury retrograde. It goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. Venus goes retrograde every 2 to 3 years. Mars goes retrograde every 2 to 3 years as well. So there is this, those, when those planets go retrograde, it really affects us on a personal level. And we were
Yeah.
just talking about, at the time of this taping,
Technology.
Mercury is retrograde,
Uh,
and we are both ruled by Mercury. You're Gemini, correct?
no, I'm a 0 degree Aquarius, but I have
Aquarius
Mercury retrograde in my natal chart.
in your
So
natal
I
chart.
actually feel okay when Mercury's retrograde. I feel a little bit
Yes.
more creative, actually.
But it's the air sign piece. So air signs are also very cerebral and
Yeah.
logic based and mind based, and Mercury rules the mind. And so I'm a Virgo. So
Yeah.
Virgos and Geminis have a. Why did I think you were a
I'm a
Gemini? Oh,
Gemini
maybe
moon.
because of that. That's why. There it
Yeah.
is. Then it does affect you big time, because that Gemini is the cerebral sign as well. And so when Mercury goes retrograde, it does affect our technology, which my
Yeah.
camera wasn't working before, and we were like, "What is happening?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Mercury." We know. It gives us more patience, but it's also a time out from the universe to kind of take
Yeah.
that time to regroup and reassess and revise ourselves so that we're not just going off on a path that isn't really aligned for us. So everything in the astrology has a purpose, has an opportunity, and it is here to help us be our best self. So
Yeah.
I don't want anyone listening to it thinking, "Oh my God, we're gonna go. The nodes are shifting signs," and you're like, "Okay, it's an opportunity is there
Yeah.
for everything." So I never see it as anything bad. I really do feel everything is neutral, and we color it based on
Right.
our perception, our conditioning, our beliefs of the past.
Yeah,
So
and everyone gets to choose if you want to take an umbrella with you, if it might be a chance of rain, or you want to just get your socks wet. That's up to you.
that's right. That's right. This is the astro weather, right? And
Yes.
the thing is, whether you believe in astrology or not, I really, don't care, because
Yeah.
it's like gravity. It's affecting you whether you know it or not. So why not be so informed and just try
Right.
it out and see if, like, oh, this is why everyone's going a little crazy right now. Mercury's retrograde,
Yeah.
or oh, Venus is going to go retrograde in 2026. That's going to affect relationships. I wonder how that's going to play out in my life, right? And being open to the opportunity of, oh, this is actually taking out all these relationships that aren't working in my life. Hmm.
Yeah.
Rather
Well, and it
than me being
sounds
like, God,
like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, rather than me being sad, how can I look
Yeah.
at this as an opportunity and be grateful for these people, what they came in to teach me, because something else is coming in now. And that's why the
Yeah.
universe is removing this person.
It's all perspective, right? If we can
What were you going
keep
to say?
it, yeah, one of my little mantras is everything's always working out. So you can have that. But it sounds like maybe in the second half is when all the fireworks, we're going to see them in our lives. And maybe this first 6 months for those that like, I'm a Capricorn rising. So I also like to be very prepared. So if you're someone that likes to be prepared or have heads up, it sounds like this first 6 months is going to be a lot of preparation and things we
Yeah.
can be aware of and be working on so that we can be better aligned for this second half. Is that true?
Correct. I love, love, love that perspective. You're so psychic.
You're
It's
so
the
funny.
best. It's the greatest, because you're exactly right. It's like these. So the first half of the year, we have all these planets that were in the outer banks that have sort of moved into new signs in 2025, then dipped back into old signs. So let's start out with Neptune. On January 26th, we'll move into Aries once again. So it dipped back out to Pisces for a short time again in 2025. And that dip back out again helped us to really kind of align. Neptune is a planet of spirituality, transcendence, connection to the divine, empathy, compassion. It's all those beautiful Piscean, traits and characters.
Yeah.
It rules Pisces. And Neptune is, again, very slow moving. So it's going to be here for another 12 years now. It's a 12-year era kind of time. It will step out in 2038 now into Taurus. So it's going to be here for a long time. And it's
Okay.
a very slow moving outer planet, personal planet, an interpersonal planet. And this is about turning dreams into action. So in Pisces, it was getting clear on your dreams, getting deeper into what your spiritual blueprint is. Like, who are
Yeah.
you as a soul? What is that passion and purpose and mission coming up from your soul? And now the Aries energy coming in January 26th, 2026 to May 21st, 2031, 38, sorry,
Wow.
38. So 12 years, next 12 years is going to be about really coming out into the world with that. What is your purpose and mission? Living that. I think we're going to see more of those beautiful flowers of healers and
Yeah.
spiritual leaders and stuff stepping forward. And Aries is the sign of leadership. So I also feel like spiritual leadership will step forward. People being held to account in spiritual places as well. I think rising up of fighting for compassion and justice, guarding against propaganda and falsehoods and false
Right.
heroes, because Neptune is also the guise, the fog. So
Yeah.
with Aries there, it's like it's going to expose potentially, people who are falsely saying that they are leaders or they're mediums or hoaxing people. I think too with this Neptune in Aries, and Saturn is also going to enter back into Aries. I think there's going to be a lot more rules and regulations starting to come out around the spiritual spaces. So
Interesting.
I feel like because in the UK, there's actually a lot of rules around mediums
Yes.
who lead people astray and they take their own life or
Yeah, there's
it
rules
leads
around
to harm.
prediction. There's a lot of rules in the
Mhm.
UK around
Yeah,
the work we do.
to protect people,
Yes.
right, from these people that are curses and taking your money and all the things. And buyer beware, as we were sort of talking about in our industry, that we really, you come with references, or your clout is your name, and your integrity is everything.
Yeah.
So in turning dreams into reality, I think is like one of my favorite pieces about this, because it's no longer time to just dream about something. If
Yeah.
it's been on your heart for a while, it's been on your heart for a long time. It is now for you to co-create with the universe and bring it out into the world.
Yeah. Well, it seems so
So
perfectly aligned with that 1 year energy too, because it's like, okay, now you have to, like, at some point you've got to put into practice the things that you've learned and felt, right?
yes. And if it's on your heart, it's been there for a reason. Like, that's been put in your heart, then the universe will also give you the tools to accomplish it. So we can't just think that we have this dream on our heart and all these people around you projecting. It's been so interesting, Joy, because in the last 5 months, I've been working with a lot of entrepreneurs, and so many of them have this wound of family not believing in my dreams.
Yeah.
And I always say that it was not in your family's heart to have this dream. So it's not their job to believe in your dream. It's
Yeah.
your job to believe in your dream. And you just continue to give evidence of how it is your dream and how it's meant for you. And your
Yeah.
success is the biggest, F you to your family, but really evidence to your family that you are actually meant to do this work. So
Yeah.
until then, your family will live potentially in a traditional place of contraction, of trying to keep you safe, of don't go and create this new bakery or this new business. That's not safe. Go work for somebody and have a paycheck, and you're like,
Right.
I can't do it anymore. So the Aries is going to call you up into your calling, because you cannot no longer sit in just dreaming about it.
Okay. So for anyone feeling that stirring from deep, deep within, this might be what that's about.
That's the calling. You got to step into it with
Yes.
safety, because if your nervous system is going to thwart you because you're trying to stay loyal to your family, then you will never be able to do it. You might start
Right.
your business and you'll have no clients. And this is like the job of the work that I love to do, because
Yeah.
let's dig deeper into those blocks that are holding you back from the true success you desire. Because as soon as we change those energetically, everything changes in the world, like
Yeah.
everything. Your business starts to fill. All of a sudden, your money is falling into your lap, and opportunities to speak and to be in places that you never would have thought happens. And that
Yeah.
comes from the inner work, not the strategy and
Right.
tactics.
Well, it sounds like it might be very important for each of us in our own ways to look at the stories we're telling ourselves about what is and is not possible, all of that, to kind of work through the energy to be more ready to take the action. I always say
Yes.
the universe is not attached to like, if you do this today or next week, if you're working on the energy and moving it forward, that's moving it forward.
It is moving it forward, and it's little bits at a time. I think our
Yeah.
brain wants it all or nothing, and
Yeah.
we want to get to the destiny and a destination. I remember as I was, in my mediumship, I had a mentor say to me, "Sheetal, it's about the journey, not the destination." I'm like, I hate that saying so much. As a Virgo,
This
I
is why
want to
you and I
get
get
there.
along so well.
I want to get there efficiently. I want it there
Yes.
now,
I want to
like
know when I'm there.
yes, yes. Give me the framework, give me the tool, but it's
Yeah.
actually the inner healing that gets you anywhere you want to go. Because if your nervous system is not okay with it, then it's not going to allow success into your life. And that brings me
Yeah.
then to the next transit, which is happening in February. It's Saturn entering Aries, and Saturn re entering Aries. So it was in Pisces for a time. And it was in Aries from May 24th to September 1st of 2025. So we got a little bit of a hit of that Aries energy at that time. And
Okay.
now it's going to move in till 2028. So it's going to stay there for a couple years, it's not ever going to step back, another 30-year cycle before it steps back into Pisces. But Saturn enters Aries and retrograded back into Pisces. But this is where it demands to be heard, right? This is building
Okay.
patience and endurance. Saturn is the elder, the wise elder. And
Yes.
Aries is not a sign that Saturn likes to be in, because Aries is impulsive, it's initiatory,
Aries is
it
the
wants to
baby,
show.
right? And Saturn
Yes,
is the teacher.
yes, exactly. Well said. I love it. Yes, building patience and endurance, channeling assertiveness wisely,
Hmm.
balancing practicality with inspiration, and structure meeting courage.
Yeah.
So it's this stepping in, having the courage to start, but then building it in a way that is long term and sustainable.
Yeah.
So Saturn rules Capricorn, and Mars rules Aries. So there's this wanting to go and get things done, and it just be initiating anything and everything is not the goal. It's Saturn is asking you to do it with responsibility.
Right.
And I think this Saturn is also the taskmaster of the zodiac, right? It's doing things in a proper way, it's structure, it's your bones, it's your teeth, it's your skin. And so it's everything that's kind of holding the system together.
Foundation. Yeah.
Foundation,
So, would it
yes.
be fair to say, for example, if someone feels like this rush of wanting to take action in this Aries energy, but they perhaps don't have all their like paperwork in order or certifications in order, that they might get knocked back a few steps by this Saturn energy as part of the fine tuning of the foundation of it all?
Yes, I think so, because Saturn is asking you to be credentialed, right?
Yeah.
To have this, like, I think Neptune is like, oh, you feel it, move into it. It's
Yeah.
okay. You'll be fine. And I've had so many coaches over the years that are like, Sheetal, I'm not a coach. And I'm like, but I feel like I should be certified in something. And they're like, did you need my certifications? No. And then I was working with True Story, my web designer, and she's like, well, how do you want to do this? I said, I think I should put coach. And she looked at me and she's like, you are not a coach. You do not have a certification. And I was like, okay. So, so there'll be things in your life, I think these like safeguards. And it was so ironic because then she had shared with me that she wanted to get her certification in coaching, and we went together to get all our certifications together. We ended up going
I
into our
love it.
master's program together. So it does make a difference, right? There's coaching tools and strategies and ways that you learn to hold space that you can't just intuit. Like you really do
Yeah.
need that mentorship and that training and doing it properly, because if you don't, Saturn will come for you. There will be a lawsuit, there will be people saying there's
Yeah.
mishandling and malpractice and things like that. So when you're venturing into the realm of healing or helping others, you
Right.
really have to do so with such safety, such integrity, and also lawfully, because you
Yeah.
are in a place of vulnerability with people. So yeah, I would say that's very good. I love that you went with that, because it's true. Saturn is going to ask us to do things the right way, not the
Yeah.
fastest way, which is Aries.
Well, and I think it's frustrating because I certainly, before I really understood this work, I thought like, oh, these are natural gifts and you have these gifts and then certainly they should just flow and we should be able to apply them. And that is, from my experience, really not how it works. There's the training and the mentorship and the time of, just it's the difference between microwaving something and putting it in like a nice slow oven. You need to be
Yeah.
baked properly.
Yes, I love that I love your analogies. Oh my gosh, you're
My
firing on
little
all
weird
cylinders
brain.
today. But it feels like
Oh,
that's exactly right. Like when your gifts come to the surface, it's now time to develop them.
yeah,
It's not time to hang your shingle and say, now I'm a clinical psychologist. Like you've got
yeah,
to go out and do the things to cultivate your gifts, to become confident in them, to understand if you're standing in front of somebody and you're reading their loved one and they're saying, no, 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 what does that mean? Where did
yeah.
you
What's
go
gone
wrong?
wrong? Yeah,
How can you sort yourself out in that, right? So
yeah,
that your training helps you in situations where you might not have thought of, in the early stages of your development. So your gifts turning on, or this awareness that you have this desire on your heart, is actually the invitation to develop it,
yeah.
not to now go and make money on it.
I kind
That's
of
a
love
difference.
these two energies together though, because
Mhm.
I think any type of business we're going to do, we need the passion, but we also need the integrity and the responsibility, right? You have to have
Yes.
both to do the day-to-day work of it.
I agree. I agree. And if you want to build a sustainable long term practice that makes impact and money, then you must have both together. We must
Yeah.
have the passion and purpose, and we must have the structure, longevity, and the tools to do so. So, yeah, I think, again, everything is so purposeful. Like I'm
Yeah.
in awe of the brilliance of the universe every single time. And before that happens, that's going to be in February 13th. Oh, right after that happens, Aquarius, we have a solar eclipse in Aquarius. So it's our first
Okay.
eclipse in a new set of signs. So the nodes of the moon are our karmic destiny and our karmic past. It's the collective's journey into where they're going to go. And so the nodes of the moon spend 18 months in each sign, and they go backwards through the zodiac. And when they change signs, so every 18 months, it creates a new era, like a pop culture changes, the energy of the collective kind of shift, right?
Yeah.
So we've been in this Aries Libra energy, and the Aries is the sign of me, right? And then Libra is a sign of the relationships. And then as we moved back through, we're currently in Pisces Virgo. So the North Node is in Pisces, which is about spirituality, our healing, what's our spark of, our desire within our heart,
Yeah.
our purpose and mission. And then Virgo is the South Node, is releasing perfectionism, analysis paralysis, having to do everything in a organized, disciplined kind of way. So I
Oof.
think that,
That's a
well,
lot.
it's
People
a lot.
pleasing, all the
Yes.
things.
Yes, yes, all those things. But we also need to keep those some of the good things of Virgo, which is
Right.
the details, which is moving forward, being of service,
Yeah.
so we keep the good stuff and we leave the bad. And the
Virgo
Pisces,
cares a lot. I think that's
yeah,
part of why the intensity of like things needing to be the detail and the perfection is if we can just really move it towards the underlying like you really care about what you're doing and let go of the perfectionist piece, that could be pretty amazing.
it is. Yeah, as a Virgo, I completely resonate with that. That is, it's service. We're service oriented. We're the servants of the
Yeah.
zodiac. And so
Hmm.
that part of it of wanting to help people and nurture boundaries are really, really important, which Pisces is the opposite sign of Virgo, right? So the nodes are always in opposite signs from each other, helping us to understand that balance and harmony of the two. And so we need to follow our intuition, not our mind, because Virgo is ruled by the mind, but we
Yeah.
need to follow our intuition and then be of service with boundaries that helps Pisces, because Pisces without boundaries is just everywhere, right? It's
Messy.
ADHD. So we want to, really have some boundaries and have some structure in our life. So now the nodes of the moon, we're going to, as it gets closer to the new moon and full moon, we have eclipses, right? So those
Mhm.
eclipses are on the north node or the south node of the moon. And the nodes are officially going to move into into Aquarius and Leo in later in the year. So they actually move in on, no, that's another nodes on July 26th. So that's going to be
Okay.
in the second half of the year that they're actually moving into those nodes, into those new signs. But because this eclipse is very close, we're going to have the first eclipse in the new set of nodes on February 17th. And it's an Aquarius solar eclipse. So that's going to be a North Node eclipse in Aquarius. And that's going to help us have a little bit of a glimpse into this 18-month cycle. So it's going to be a very powerful eclipse. Now, eclipse season is a major evolutionary jump point for humanity.
Yeah.
And Aquarius is about all of us coming together. So if you think about Medicare or the SNAP program in the US, or,
Yeah.
everyone getting fed, or a minimum wage that everyone can live with, or, just humanity taking taking care of each other. It's
Yeah.
also natural resources being taken care of, Mother Earth being nurtured and taken care of. So when we think about this eclipse, this is going to be about innovation and new paths and also sudden endings because it's
Mm,
a North Node eclipse, right?
yeah.
So we're going to notice some things really shifting, and that February is going to be an eclipse month. So it's going to be a very potent month of change and, potentially destabilizing, but also noticing where you're being called to rise up into your purpose and mission and to help others and be in service and let go of outdated programs because Aquarius wants to innovate.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking it's interesting too because I know Aquarius often is about innovation through like new technologies, new ways of doing something that kind of reimagines an old form that wasn't quite working any longer because things
Mhm.
change. And
Right.
maybe, a long time ago, this way used to work, but we're having to innovate and be more inclusive, more like how do we serve more people? How do we inclusively serve others? So I'm excited about this energy.
Yes, I am too. But it is going to be a huge, I'm going to say, juxtaposition
Yeah.
against what's happening, especially in the US or places around the world where contraction has come in, because
Yeah.
Aquarius is evolution. So it is the elevation of consciousness, elevation of technology, of concepts, of ideas. It's an air sign of the mind. So it's going to want to make things better for everyone, but it's going to highlight, because it's the beginning, it's going to highlight
Yes.
where when we're not, there's inequity, when we are not equal, where there is such differences. So I think there's going to be, as we move into the Aquarius Leo, because Leo is the sign of me, my gifts
Right.
and talents, what's my special sauce, what's my voice. And then we add that to the collective Aquarius to then help all of humanity rise, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just the ego driven and it's not just for everybody because that's righteousness. So together we actually form this balance of humanity of like my gifts and talents matter.
I love
So
that.
So when we're going to have later on in the year, we will have a South Node eclipse in Leo that will be about releasing the parts of us that feel like we can't shine, that we can't speak, that who am I to say this?
Yeah.
Leo, inherently all the Leos listening, or if you have Leo predominantly in your chart, your major theme in your life is to step forward and know that you are meant to be seen. And
Yeah.
often Leos have a hard time being seen, whether they're scared to, or they're worried about judgment, or they're not qualified enough, or any of those stories that they tell themselves. So it's going to be
Oh,
interesting.
those sunny Leos.
So beautiful. I have so many Leo friends, and it's just beautiful when you see them start to shine their light.
Yeah.
And then two other things happening in February. Saturn is conjunct Neptune in 0 degrees of Aries on February 20th. And whenever we have a conjunction of two outer planets, conjunction means they sit on the same degree of a sign.
Okay.
That is considered a major birth point. So it's the beginning of a new cycle. We call them great conjunctions in astrology. So because these outer planets don't come together very often, and when they
Yeah.
do, these cycles are very long. So this is a 36-year cycle
Wow.
that is starting, and it's starting at the 0 degree mark of Aries. Like
Interesting.
that's very unique, very, very unique. And the next time they came together, I was looking up where it's going to come together. It's June 2061, and it'll be in Gemini.
Wow.
So it doesn't go consecutively sign by sign because their cycles are so different. And the Saturn cycle is a 30-year, and Neptune is a 164.
Wow.
164 years, I believe, 164. So that those two cycles, meeting up, don't have they normally happen about every 30 some years or so. And so this is happening now at the 0 degree mark of Aries. So this is a major global turning point. Dreams manifest, illusions dissolve, and this is about disillusionment. So Saturn is bringing that like taskmaster energy, and
Yeah.
Neptune is going, but I just want to like be
Watery.
happy.
Yeah.
I just want
See,
to like follow my heart. And Saturn's like, no, it's not going to happen right now. So it's these two are very opposite planets, which is so interesting because Neptune is
yeah.
that like just follow your heart. Neptune's like do it the right, or Saturn is doing it the right way.
Oh, and Aries
So
is so fiery. Say the date of this conjunction again.
February 20th.
Okay. Mark your
So it's
calendars, folks.
3 days after the eclipse.
Interesting. So this is like a big, powerful time.
Big, powerful time. And then shortly after, 6 days later, Mercury goes retrograde in Pisces.
Okay.
So Mercury rules the mind, the thought processing, and the way that we think about things and process information. It's also our connections to people that are closest to us. It's our coordination as well. So when Mercury goes retrograde, it's a time to slow down, to review, to recess, to realign, all those re's. And with the water, Mercury is going to retrograde this year in water signs. So
Oh,
last year
interesting.
in 2025, it was fire signs moving into water signs, and now it is fully water signs this year. So whenever Mercury goes retrograde through water signs, it's a real theme for the year of us getting clear on our foundations, on our emotional attachments, on the
Yeah.
things that make us feel safe and whole, and our spirituality, our intuition, really coming back to ourself as a person. Because the water signs rule emotions, they rule
Yeah.
intuition. Our divine feminine nature is water, and inherently, all the water signs are ruled by the moon, which is our intuition and
Yeah.
our feeling nature. So, with Mercury retrograding through our feelings this year, it's really
Yeah.
going to be about getting clear on what is, because it's the mind, right? Processing feelings. It's what is happening, what is in the mind that is actually slowing you down from stepping into these talents, these gifts, these your purpose and mission.
Yeah. Oh,
Is,
interesting. So that's kind of what we were talking about earlier with kind of, I always think as retrogrades as like all the re words: revisit, re-explore, refocus, re-evaluate, right? So
correct.
kind of how we were talking about maybe re-evaluating the stories we're telling ourselves about why we couldn't do something or why something's not for us or something is for us. So an opportunity to get clear in our emotions about where we're going, I guess, right?
And what, yes, and what's holding us back from going
Yeah.
in that direction. So, and you can see the brilliance of the universe until
Yeah.
you get clear on what that is. You can't actually step forward into your dreams. So Mercury is giving you a step, a tool to help you get deeper into that. So I think there's going to be a lot of, again, healing. But when I say healing, I mean doing the inner work, the mindset work, the belief work,
Right.
the what actually started this in your life, going back to those moments in time that these beliefs were created, reprogramming that to see from an adult mind now what
Yeah.
happened in your childhood, and bring perspective, love, compassion, and changing the timeline to move forward now into your dreams with safety.
I
So
love that.
we can't do it without safety.
These are huge opportunities. So for anyone feeling like, oh my gosh, this is so much, it is, but it's giving us these big opportunities to get more clear so that we can be stepping into living more fully the way that I don't love the idea of like what we're meant to do, but the potential that we have and how we want to express it, I guess is a better way to
Yeah.
say it.
I think that potential is rising in you. So if you
Yeah.
know this is a direction you want to go in, but you keep hitting a wall or you keep hitting a door, then it's the question is, well, why? What's there? Either it's internal blocked or it's an external saying this is not the path for you. So
Yeah.
each one requires healing from within to understand which is the next direction for you. Because if you're not in alignment, then you're not moving in the direction of your true essence, what you're meant to do. And alignment means that you're listening to your intuition, that you're listening to your values and your goals and your mission, and all of those things are aligned, then everything opens up for you. So if any of those things are out of a balance, you're manifesting someone else's dream.
Yeah. And you get these chances to reevaluate what that is.
Yes,
This
yes.
feels very exciting.
Once a quarter, yes. Yes, it would for someone who's aware. So it's again, and these are slow. Like these are going through. We're going through the months, under an hour for the first 6 months of the year. So to not, if you feel overwhelmed by any of this energy, just write it down and write down the opportunities that might be coming up for you. But
Yeah.
until you are walking the path in the month of February, you're not going to really know. You,
Right.
you think you might, but you might not, because there's events and things that are going to come up that are going to be catalysts for your growth that you can't possibly anticipate in this moment in time.
Well, that's such a good point. And I come back to these episodes with you, and a lot of people report back to me that they do as well. So feel free to like come back to these episodes to see, like, okay, remind me again, write the dates down. That's what I'm doing when you see me looking down and making some notes about some dates I want to put on my calendar.
Yes.
Uh,
I love it because you can use it both ways. You can either just, live February and then come back and listen to February and go,
yeah.
oh, that's why that happened. Or, oh, that makes sense with those dates. Or if you're feeling brave and again, connected to self and grounded, you can listen to February, put these dates on the calendar and then see what's transpiring. Going, oh, okay, this is why this is happening here. So you can either live it in real time or you can come back and reevaluate afterwards, or do both if you
I do
desire.
both. I
And
listen
yeah,
first, then live it, and then go back and be like, oh, okay, I thought it
very
was going to show up
Gemini
like
moon.
this. And it's, yeah, well, I'm extra girl, you know.
Very Gemini, Aquarius, Capricorn. Yeah, it
Uh,
makes sense to me. So as we then now navigate into March, we'll have our next eclipse. Eclipses always come in pairs, but this one's going to be sort of an out of sign. So this is now the Virgo South Node eclipse
okay.
on the 3rd. And so we're sort of wrapping up these last little eclipses in Virgo Pisces. And this one is going to be about releasing perfectionism, healing routines. Virgo also rules like healing routines, daily routines for health habits and healthy living,
Okay.
cleanliness, right? So the shadow of this transit could be stress and overwhelm because you think you have to do all the things. But North Node or South Node means we're releasing stress and overwhelm. We're releasing all the need to do all the things and get it all perfectly right. That we can heal that because we're in Mercury retrograde too. So it's not a time with Mercury ruling Virgo. This is going to be a rough one for perfectionists. That's what
Yeah.
I'll say. So if you've got to get it all right and do everything, the pressure is going to build on you to like finally just release all that crap and just
Yeah.
do the thing, or realize that you're wonderful and worthy and you don't need to do all those things.
Yeah, both of those.
All of those things. So March 18th, we have a new moon, and then March 20th, the sun moves into Aries. So this year, this is the astrological new year, which is why I'm highlighting it. It's
Yeah.
fresh starts. It can be impatience with the sun being in Aries, but we've also now got Neptune and Saturn, sorry, in Aries as well. So we've got this lots of this Aries fire energy for this new
Yeah.
year. It's going to feel very different than previous years,
Okay.
for sure. Then, as we move into April, we have Uranus re entering Gemini. And it was briefly in Gemini for July 7th to November 7th of 2025. So we got a little bit of this energy. Now, Uranus is about, it's the ruling a it's the ruling planet for Aquarius, easy to say. And Uranus is about innovation. It's about chaos to break up the old. It's kind of the wrecking ball that likes to come
Yeah.
in and change things. It's revolutionary, rebellious energy. It's really about taking things to the next level. It's about being your true self, right? Your true freaky self, whatever that is within that you don't show to everybody in the world all the time, potentially. And so when it's in Gemini, it's about radical change in communication, technology, media. It's going to shake up that part of our world. So when Uranus was in Taurus for the last 4 years, no, more than that, Uranus takes 84 years to go around the zodiac.
Okay.
So when it's in a sign, it's about for 3 to 5 years of retrogrades. And Uranus in Taurus, Taurus was about banking system, our natural resources, the environment,
Yeah.
money, currency. And so when Uranus moved into Taurus, we saw like cryptocurrency go crazy. We saw really climate change really at the forefront, people really blowing the whistle on this is real. Because before then, everyone's like, I don't know, you kind of,
Yeah.
maybe it's a hoax, you're just trying to spend money on it. And now everyone's just got that like wildly, like, yeah, this is happening, obviously. Like we're seeing
Right.
things in the world now with wild storms and things like that. So Uranus also rules natural disasters, which we saw, those storms and stuff really growing, which I think we're going to continue to see. But with Gemini, this is about a shakeup in technology and communication.
Interesting.
So we might even see security shoring up around our communication devices and things like that. Because I think we saw like
Yeah.
a communication outage in 2025 as well, where it took out like a lot of the boards, a lot of the Shopify, like a lot of these things were
Yeah, there
going
was a big
down.
hack that happened. And it's
Yes.
so interesting with how prevalent like the AI platforms are, and so much of the US stock market leaning into AI that maybe hasn't been fully developed yet. So it's kind of interesting that this is happening. We'll have to see what bubbles up. Is that the space we're
Mhm.
talking about? A lot of obviously
Correct.
technology and
Yeah,
intelligence.
technology, intelligence, how we communicate, is security around that as well, I think, with that
Okay.
Saturn in Aries. But again, Uranus likes to break up and show us where there's cracks in the foundation. So there's, I think, this like satellites and with like these, world powers being at odds with each other, spying. That's, I think, a
Yes.
really big one is, how are we might see some interesting things come out around spying and satellites and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's going to be an efficiency in the grid as well, because there's been a real push to move to electric cars, but there's
Hmm.
not enough electricity to power electric
Yeah,
cars
to
and
support
heat
that.
homes and all the things. So there's going to be, I think, a change in technology and energy as well that's going to come along for this too. And I almost envision like a higher vision of Zoom or another version of
Okay.
Zoom or something like that coming out where, we before the pandemic, we really is about Skype, right? And
Yeah.
then Google came out with their, Google
Teams or
Teams,
whatever it
yeah,
is.
Google
Yeah.
Teams, that's right. And then Zoom became huge. And I think now there's going to be an innovation to take it again to the next level. I know somebody was talking about, I think it might have been Meta, about like a 3D meeting room where you put
Yes, I've
on a
heard about
virtual reality
this. Yeah.
and then you're actually in it. You sort of see a lot in the Avengers. I know I'm going to
Yeah.
nerd out a little bit, but in the Avengers, where they'd have a meeting and everybody would be virtually there in their 3D form, and you're having a meeting talking to all these people, but they're actually sitting in their chairs in other parts of the world.
Mm,
So I think we're going to see more technology of like 3D virtual reality, things like that
okay.
coming forward as well.
Well, it'd be so interesting to see the security around it too. I keep thinking about the last time I did air travel, was in the kind of early summer, and or maybe I don't know, sometime in the summer, and they didn't even want to see my digital boarding pass or scan it. They only wanted to do the face scan, and that
Yeah.
was it through security. And I
Wow.
was like, oh, I don't love this, but we'll see, I guess, what it leads to, and the if it continues to restrain the options around it, because I follow some people that are like, wear a mask everywhere you go because of cameras. And I mean, I think cameras see us right now. So it's,
Yeah. It's true. I mean, yeah,
but
we are
yeah.
literally on camera right now.
uh,
But it's very true because it was on the news recently where it was in the UK, I think in their tube, where you take
mhm.
their LRT version, that the cameras are watching you and the ads change based on your demographic. So if they see that you're a
Interesting.
woman or what age you are, or you're a child, then the ads will change in the tunnel up ahead to then meet that demographic. So they said they
Yeah.
don't store the information. They're just recognizing,
Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly, right? I love you so much. Yeah, it's that feeling of like, are we protecting that? Because there used to be a
Yeah.
technology that did store your data, and then they went to court to get that like taken care of and deleted and all the things. So now they're saying this is generic. It's not storing data. It's just recognizing your face and then putting an ad that best would suit that.
Yeah, so it'll be
So
interesting if there's like new security things bubbling up around this time. I follow a
yeah,
couple of people on YouTube that help you go through like the iPhone and make sure all of these apps aren't tracking your location, which they can do in the background if we don't say no
yeah,
to it. So I'm excited to see what happens because I would prefer to opt in than have to like go
and
find it
opt
and
out.
opt out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
But
doesn't seem
that's what's
right.
happening. Like, you notice
Yeah.
with all the upgrades on the phone, I'm noticing I recently watched the same YouTube, a similar one, where you have to go in and turn all these things off that were never
Yeah.
there, and it's
I don't like
buried.
it.
It's buried. Like, it's not easy to find. You gotta go to this screen and
Yeah.
this screen and then go all the way down to the bottom and toggle this on, and you're like, "What? Who would know this?" Right? So,
Yeah.
they're almost making it more and more sneaky, to track your data or to, I don't know, do whatever with it, right? And you're just like, "Oh my god, I don't even have an idea," right?
So
So
potentially Uranus can bring some exposure to this too, so we can know
correct.
more.
Oh, it will. Yes, because it breaks up anything of the old to make it better, right? It's not just here to destabilize the world, it's here to make things better.
Yes, highlighting so we can make corrections and adjustments.
Correct. Correct. So as we then move into May, we have actually pretty smooth sailing for May, nothing major. And
Take a
then in,
vacation in May, maybe if you
yeah,
can. That's
major vacation in May.
I was looking at
I
that
think
actually, so thank you for that.
I was actually seeing April is all the planets are direct in April, and then we start to go into retrogrades. In April, I think I've missed April, May, June. March. I did miss March. So March, we did talk about March
Yeah, we're
being
in
the
March.
Mercury direct on the 20th. That's the one thing I missed.
Hmm.
So now we're out of Mercury retrograde there, and then April, all the planets are direct, and we have Uranus entering Gemini on April 25th. So that's that new 6 year cycle of technology, communication, evolution, and education as well.
So because
Gemini,
all the planets, sorry, are direct and we're in that Aries time, does that
yeah.
mean we might see like a surgence of like things moving forward, contracts that were on hold now coming to fruition, things that were kind of stop start are now moving forward potentially during that month?
Yes, April is like all green lights to go
Good.
ahead, right? We've got a lot of
Okay.
Aries energy in there and the planets are all direct. So I would say if there's anything that you were really planning for the year, April would be a really great time to plan it. And November would not be.
Okay.
Would
Well, that's
not
great
be
to
the
know. So
time to do
launches, people wanting to book things
April.
and do things and start
Yes.
things, April's looking up.
Yes. I would say after the Aries new year, and then also after the Aries new moon, which is April 17th, that's going to be a really good time between April 17th and May 1st as an entrepreneur. If you're wanting to launch anything and or do something new or be a refresh that's coming out into the world again,
Yeah.
that would be a really great time to reemerge.
I'm making some notes.
Really good time. So as we then move through May, another month of not so much some things going on. Pluto does go retrograde, but these retrograde, like outer planets going retrograde, they're a little bit slower. So I'm not really going to be talking about them too much because there's other transits that are much more powerful as they're happening, which is bringing us then to June 12th. And Uranus is going to be squaring the North Node. So Uranus now in Gemini is going to be squaring the North Node as it's moving into um, Aquarius and Leo. So it's going to be at the final degrees as it's kind of moving into this sign. It's going to be squaring. And the square to the North Node is a fated shift. It's a breakthrough in direction and it can be sudden shocks. So whenever we have Uranus square, we can expect around that week as well of natural disasters as well, like
Okay.
earthquakes and shifts like that. And I actually feel like, and this is going to be a prediction to see how it comes together, but something is going to happen to destabilize the electrical grid or the communications grid in some way where communications is going to go down. And they're going to have to try to rebuild it or actually shore up against it in the future so it doesn't happen
Okay.
again. So it's going to expose weaknesses in our communication networks and grids and also within ourselves, right? Within, because
Yeah.
as within, so without. So, within ourselves where we don't have good communication or where someone's misunderstanding us, we can see that.
And that square is happening June. Say that again.
June 12th. But
Okay.
because Uranus moves slowly, we're going to feel that all the beginning of June and sort of all the mid June to the first half of June is going to
Okay.
be this feeling of it's going to feel like a Mercury retrograde because it's in June. It's in Gemini, right?
Well, and
Uranus.
squares are tension points, right? If it's a square, it's
Correct.
like a tension, like an
Correct.
opposition almost.
So it's almost like the way that a teacher described to me that I always kind of thought of is like these two planets met. So Uranus in the North Node, which is our karmic destiny, met at a corner and they're trying to go in a square, down a square, but two different sides of the square. So
Okay.
they're pulling against each other. So it's a conflict. It's difficult to integrate. It's a crisis moment, these two things. But a square shines us up.
Yeah.
So squares are not bad things, but there is a difficulty here that we're going to have to overcome. And Uranus being in Gemini and the North Node, this is about our karmic destiny. What's holding you back? Or what
Yeah.
relationships, because Gemini can be our closest relationships, our early childhood education, our community as well. So what's holding you back truly from stepping into what's calling you forward? Again, it just seems like it just continues to come up time and time again, this
It really
theme.
does. Yeah. And
Mhm.
maybe showing us, highlighting to us with Uranus, where are we out of alignment with the way our soul's calling us forward. And perhaps kind of like you were talking about this earlier, maybe tied into our relationships, that family that doesn't support what we want to do or who we want to be, or some version of that, or relationships, friends, whatever it might be, professional groups, and highlighting, oh, maybe it's this thing that we're involved in that's
Yeah.
holding us back or not in alignment.
And why do you keep holding on? Is
Yeah.
there a way to evolve it, right? Uranus wants to evolve things. So
Right.
it's can we then let go of that need to please and to be connected to these people in this way? Or maybe just step back to give yourself space to grow and show success that when you come back into that relationship, they're like, oh my God, I had no idea. Right.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes and what's dropping in here is that people like to keep us in a place that they know us. Right.
Yeah.
So if let's say you have a childhood friend and they've known you this whole time as Joy, and then you stepped into this big new role, let's say in mediumship, and they're like, "What? You're a medium all of a sudden?" And you're like, "Yeah, I've actually always been. I just didn't feel safe to say it, or it's always
Yeah.
been in my, my soul, or remember that time." And they're like, huh, okay. And if somebody like really loves you and their identity doesn't depend on you being the joy that they used to know, that they can just help you evolve and love you in that,
Yeah.
then that relationship will continue on and will grow together, right? This reminds me of, when my son came out as trans, that I was like, oh my God, like I loved my daughter so much. And I
Yeah.
went through a bit of a grief of like now having no daughters. Now I have two sons, but now I have two sons. And
Yeah.
so I was so grateful that I have two sons rather than just one son, because then I would have lost him, in many ways,
Yeah,
possibly.
absolutely.
So it's that understanding that people are allowed to evolve, and
Yeah.
that attachment to who they were. What does that mean for you? There's a lot of estrangements. I was in a webinar recently on healing generational trauma, and they said 34% of the American population have an estrangement in their life. 34%.
Yeah. I think it might even be higher than that.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense, right? There, that was just for the study, that they have
Yeah.
people in their lives that can't accept them, or it's just too toxic, that they step away from that relationship. So I think this
Yeah.
is going to really highlight, where those estrangements are, or potentially, strained relationships
Well, it's so
that,
beautiful. And I think it's kind of double sided too, to your point of like, it's not just where am I holding myself back or where am I being held back, but where am I not giving people in my life permission to express
yeah,
themselves, feel safe with me to be their whole self, whatever that might mean? And what work do I have to do on myself that I'm not challenged by them wanting to express differently because I'm not codependently attached to their expression in the world?
yeah, or even just acknowledge that in the relationship. I've
Yeah.
had those conversations with my son, is that like I really, missed my bubbly little daughter,
Yeah.
and I had to go through a grief around that. But I just love that he's turned into this amazing human that is just such a good person, that we can talk about those things. And he said, "Mom, I'm still here," and it's,
Yeah.
yes, I know. It's just you're different, but that's part of growth, right?
Right.
Your teenagers aren't going to be their bubbly little kid selves, because their brain is maturing. They're deciding who they are as an identity.
Yeah.
So that was coupled because the identity shifted so much. So we were able to have those conversations. And then he also has a therapist that's
Yeah.
helped him to then also put that. And then I've also got lots of friends and coaches that I've talked this out with as well, that have come to this clarity for myself. So we all have responsibility to kind of clean up our own closets, but
Yeah.
then to come into authenticity and communication, Gemini, to have these authentic connections, conversations about how we feel, and take responsibility for how we feel, to not project that onto someone else. So I think that's going to be a huge theme, especially, June and onward. But with Uranus in Gemini, we're going to definitely have those kinds of conversations. The opportunity is there for those conversations, I'll say.
Well, I can see why this is setting us up for the back half of 2026 of like, because what I know is the universe is almost always looping back around another opportunity for us to choose. And so it seems like if we're not getting clear in this communication space and understanding ourselves and those around us, we might be getting some additional opportunities in the
Yes.
rest of 2026.
I mean, if
Uh,
anything, your humanness must show you that you have so many opportunities. Like, as long
yeah.
as you're open to continue to try, it will continue to come forward. So we have two more transits to round out June. We have
Yeah.
Mercury retrograde in Cancer on June 29th. And this is going to be an emotional review, healing conversations again, and potential for miscommunication because emotions are running so high.
Okay.
So to be very aware of emotions. And then on June 30th, Jupiter moves into Leo. And this is going to be such a beautiful energy for Leos, for us to step out into our gifts and talents, to shine our light. It's a big confidence booster. Creativity and leadership are going to be highlighted, but we have to make sure we're keeping our ego in check. So we're
Yeah.
not doing things for the sake of our ego or for the sake of that we want to be seen. We're healing because we want to be of service. We want to
Yeah.
help others with our mission.
Will you say more about Jupiter and what that the energy
Yes.
that planet brings?
Yes, thank you for that question. Jupiter is expansion, optimism, and good luck,
Mm,
and it expands whatever it touches. So if you have a bad habit, it'll expand the bad habit for you to change it, right? And so if you're doing the work, then it'll expand that, and opportunities will come into you. It's considered a very auspicious planet. It's one of the two benefics in astrology. Venus and Jupiter are considered planets that like helpful, and anything they touch, they amplify in a good way.
yeah.
But Jupiter again has its purpose, right? It's here to expand whatever it touches so that you can see it in a larger way. So with Jupiter moving from Cancer into Leo, this is expanding our confidence, our visibility, our self-expression, our generosity. And in Leo, Leo rules with heart. So this is
Yeah.
the expansion of the heart. It's interesting because I just heard spirits say whenever I see Jupiter in Leo in someone's chart, I ask them to make sure that they have good heart health.
Hmm.
Because so to check your heart out, we might see more education around heart health, the Heart Math Institute, the energy
Yeah.
of the heart as well. So there's going to be a lot of heart energy, bold self expression, healing fear of visibility, avoiding ego traps, joy, which is your name, and creativity and play is going to be
That's
amplified because Leo is
exciting.
the child is of children. It's a sign of
Yeah.
children and having children. So it is childlike play and having fun. And Leo over this summer, it's in the season of end of July, beginning of August. There is no end of August, beginning of July or September, sorry. And that Leo energy is where you're just wanting to like have fun and enjoy summer and go on
Yeah.
trips and be with friends. It's very social sign. Leos are so much fun. So that Leoness, coming in with Jupiter, I think is going to be so much fun. I have my Venus is in Leo, and Saturn as well. So I love the energy of Leo. It really just helps us to be more playful and light. And that's when you actually manifest the most, is when you
Yeah.
are having fun and being in joy.
Well, and it sounds like if we're using the energy kind of throughout the year to fine tune ourselves and make sure we are doing whatever version of learning and due diligence and tightening up around the edges, that we maybe could enjoy this energy to the fullest, right?
Well, Jupiter is going to be in the sign for a year until July 2027. So we've got a full year. Jupiter usually takes one year in each sign. So it's a 12-year transit. And so it's a time of just, really using this for your highest and best. And if you want to
Yeah.
know what Jupiter and Leo look like for you, look back 12 years ago and see what was
Oh
kind of happening
gosh.
in your life at that time. I know
I'm like,
it's
what year is this?
12 years
12 years
ago.
ago. When was that? 20, was it
Be
2013?
14.
2014?
Yeah, because it'd be 2026. Yeah, so 2014
Okay. Well,
would
I'll
be
have
that
to think hard
energy.
about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in the background, right? It's like the
Yeah.
first planet as we step into the outer planets. So it does move relatively quickly for the outer planets. It's 1 year in
Yeah.
a sign. So it's kind of hard to discern sometimes, like, is this that energy or was this Saturn or was this
Right.
Mercury retrograde? But this Leo energy, I'm very excited, but it's adding more fire to the already Aries and, Aries fire that we've got going on. So we've got this
Yeah.
theme of this air and fire, and that's like energy to amplify ideas and connections and being social and doing all of the like the cerebral work. But the water and the earth signs are not really represented so well. So we really
Interesting.
want to make sure that we're grounding and we're staying emotionally connected to our true self of safety and what feels good for us, and not just being in our heads and in the energy of fire, inspiration, motivation,
Yeah.
passion. We need to ground it too into emotional safety.
That's really important advice, I feel like. So I want to make sure we really like draw hard around this, because it is, when it's not highlighted in the astrology like that, we still need to be, I find it with my little Gemini moon, sometimes I have to like, and I'm very earth and air, so I'm like, oh yeah, feelings, I gotta remember about feelings. So be doing that work, tending that part of the garden, making sure we're grounded is a really great, important tip to like move through this energy in a way that
Mhm.
feels manageable, but also real world, because we can do a lot just in our mind. But I think
Yeah.
Aries is going to be asking us to take action in the world
With discernment,
with discernment. Yeah.
right? That Saturn is going to help us. Could you imagine if Saturn wasn't in that sign? Like, I think it would just be chaos,
Could be.
right?
That's why I was like, oh, Aries, here we go. What's happening? Tell me.
Well, Aries is chaos because it's the beginning part of, it's the spark of life that is spurring us into stepping into our mission and
Yeah.
being born into. But then Taurus comes along as the next sign to bring everything down into groundedness and to make that long term. But that Taurus energy is not going to come for a little bit, on these
Yeah.
outer planets. But the sun, our inner planets will be moving pretty quickly. So there will be more Earth energy coming into these personal planets as the year goes on. So we're going to dip in and out of these energies of groundedness and emotional safety as well. But we will need to have mindfulness around those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
for
feel
sure.
like grounded is a great tip. I feel like also we've kind of talked about if something's stirring in you as an individual around wanting to learn more about something or deepen your knowledge in something or start into something. It sounds like the first part of this year is a great time to take some inspired action with intention towards those things. Do you have any other tips for best uses of this energy in the first
Oh,
6 months?
big time healing. That
Yeah.
keeps coming up, right? That emotional safety, because you can't step into all this Aries energy if there's
Yeah.
parts of you that are feeling not safe with your big dreams or trying to people please or trying to take care of everyone's expectations around you. So the healing is going to come front and center. You're going to know. You're going to know because you're going to feel that block or that resistance. You're going to hit that wall and you're going to be like, okay, Sheetal said this is a time to heal this. What kind of healing feels good to me now? And please
Yeah.
don't let it be listening to a podcast or reading a book. Like it really requires someone to walk with you through the fire so that you can understand what's being reflected back to you because your blind spots are your blind spots. Like you
Yeah.
can't see them. I mean, I have healers. I have people I go to when I hit my wall because I know I'm hitting something that's juicy, that the part of me is trying to protect something in me. And the
Yeah.
more that I can look at it head on and acknowledge it and bring that part of me back home to wholeness, then I get to move forward together with all parts of me.
This is great advice. I also have people I work with because we can't, my first mentor would always say, I can't see my own blind spots. So I can't do surgery on myself. I need someone else outside of
Yes.
me. So whether that's a coach for someone or a therapist or taking various workshops that challenge that emotional side, or even just having someone that you see periodically that can, depending, I guess, where on the woo woo spectrum they are, look at the energy of you or just float some questions to you to consider, how, like, make you think, make you stew within yourself. That's such an important part of healing. It's not,
Mhm.
God, I wish it was a magic wand. Maybe one day it will be, but
You
it
just
is
walk
not.
through a portal and
Yes.
everything is healed.
Like a car
Yeah.
wash of
Very
healing.
Uranus.
But
Very Aquarius. But this
uh,
feeling of mind, body, spirit is really,
yeah,
really important. We can't just heal it in the mind or the body or the spirit. We can't be just wooey or, therapy or body somatic massage. Like it all needs to come together to
right.
truly move us forward. So looking for people who are qualified in those ways, because you can't just heal the mind or the body or the spirit. It all has to come together if you're going to move together as a whole being.
Yeah, the other thing that's coming up as we're wrapping up is, I know sometimes from an unhealed place, it can be our tendency to talk about the tough things with like everyone, or maybe not the best choice of people. So, also along those lines of seeking out qualified professionals and people to help with it, maybe not sharing this with everyone who's going to spin you around in various directions from ungrounded places, but finding trusted advisors and
Yes.
people to work with.
And sometimes we have, like, I know in my spiritual friends, we have those that can hold neutral space.
Yeah.
That's a gift, to not be so attached to what someone is going through, to just hold neutral space. And, my healer friends will be like, so what do you think? Why do you think you pulled this in? What is this here to teach you?
Yeah.
What's the opportunity in this? I'm like, I just want to hate on this person. And so there's certain people in your life that you'll go to that'll be your cheerleader, that will like ride or die with you, that burn everything down with you at
Yeah.
the crack of dawn. And then there are going to be friends, or potentially you might not, or people in your life that can hold a neutral space. So it's what I love, and I do spiritual grief counseling because we do mind, body, spirit, and we're holding that neutral space for you to just be yourself in a safe
Yeah.
container. And then we start to move that into places that are aligned with the success that you're wanting to experience.
And
So
if
yeah.
someone wants to learn more about doing that with you? Where where can
Best to
where should
DM
they
me.
go?
My calendar is always full for
I
readings on the
know.
things. I mean, every now and again you can get a spot, but it's best to DM me and either on social media or send me an email and we can have a chat because I do want to make sure that I'm aligned with my skill set to work with the
Yeah.
right people as well. And if you have other things like deep trauma or sexual abuse or things that PTSD, things that are outside the scope of my own skill set, then I want to refer you to people who can hold that space. So
Yeah.
I'm very particular with who I work with, but I feel like if you're drawn to work with me, it's probably realign, but we'll do a discovery call to make sure of alignment because that's important.
And I will put all of your contact points in the show notes. And if you haven't already found Sheetal's podcast, The Story of Spirit podcast, all the places that you might get a podcast, I will link that in there too. And I'm so excited to go follow that right now. So
Oh,
thank you.
cute.
I am so grateful. I can't even put it into words to have you and all of the time that you spend preparing this for us and giving us your time in your busy, busy day. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I just, like I said before we started recording, because you have me on here, I got to organize all my notes and stuff for all the things that I'm going to put out next year as well. So I just wanted to thank you for always including me in your space and being such a wonderful light into the world. I just love
Aw.
you. And I think the world is lucky to have you in this moment in time.
Well, everyone who's listening to this right now, send Sheetal a bubble of energetic love and appreciation. So thanks for being here with
Thank you.
us. Okay, that was so much information and so much to digest. I know that I will be listening back through the episode. As I mentioned in the episode, I often go back to Sheetal's episodes of the pod throughout the year. I like to, yes, I am a little Gemini moon, Capricorn rising, and Aquarius sun. So I like to go at the beginning of the month to kind of get the forecast or predictions for what I need a heads up on. And then I also like to go at the end of the month back and listen so I can see, oh, that's how that showed up, or that's how that rolled out, or that's what I was learning in this period, and then preparing for the month ahead, right? So you can use it as intensely or lightly as you would like. But I do love doing the astro because I think it's just a fun and informative way to get us prepared for the energy of the new year and the next 6 months. I don't know about you. Those of you that are listening, you can probably hear me ruffling pages now. I made a bunch of sticky notes for myself to notate my calendar for some exciting workshop ideas that I had for the next year. So be looking out for those. Some of them you might recognize if you pay attention to this pod will be aligned with some of these heads up and tips that Sheetal gave. So I am so, so grateful to Sheetal for being here. I cannot tell her enough. I am grateful for you all being here to get this information and to support the podcast. If you know someone that likes a heads up about astrology or just knowing what the energy ahead might hold and how to be prepared for it, please feel free to share this episode with them. And again, I am going to go right now and find Sheetal's podcast on all of the platforms that I use streaming and find her pod, which is the Story of Spirit podcast. I will link everything for Sheetal in the show notes. I know many of you are following her already, but if you are not, she gives the most intelligent, grounded versions of astrology reports all the time on her social media. Plus, she talks about lots of other wonderful, important topics. So, highly recommend. And so much gratitude to her, so much gratitude to you. I know I asked all of you to send a bubble of love to Sheetal, but please know that I am sending a bubble of love to you. And so excited, anticipating everything to come for all of us in 2026. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye for now from inside Spirit Speakeasy.